told you, you bet you call me again, I'll come to London and cut your legs off. Yeah, you have your legs. Oh, you will you? Well, that's going to be pretty hard to do with no legs, let me tell you.
How did she get his mobile?
The receptionist at work gave it to her. Said she was a client.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. I haven't sat down to record in a long time. I think I forgot how. I've been busy. Brian and I went to Florida. We saw my dad. He's in a rehab facility where they help him with occupational therapy and physical therapy to sit up and transfer out of bed into a wheelchair. And he's on a long road of, I wouldn't even say recovery because he's on his way out, if you know what I mean. So I've been exhausted. I'm trying to keep my house clean. I have 3 cats and a dog, so that's impossible. And I'm still making things. So I'm here to show you what I've been making. I made my bed. Actually, Brian made the bed yesterday. He put the top sheet on backwards. So, had to tell you. I had to tell you that. I don't know. I bought myself a candle. Shouldn't have. It was on sale, but I shouldn't have. This is Star Baby's hyperthyroid medication. $85 a month. You can donate to my coffee in the description box below. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I don't know how to interact with the world anymore. It's been a long time. I need to eat lunch. And I have a lot to catch up on. I forgot in my last video I uploaded where I repeated myself 3 separate times. I even edited that video. Didn't notice. I think I fell asleep halfway through and then woke up and I don't know what happened. I'm really sorry about that. But I'm back again and I'm here to talk about the things I'm making. I was on a train of thought where I was going to tell you about how I noticed in my last video I forgot to mention Maryland sheep and wool. My favorite day of the year. It's 2 days, but I go to Saturday only because that's all I have time for. And forgot to mention it. I went, it was nice. I didn't take a lot of video because emotional exhaustion. And I bought a fleece. I bought a Lincoln lamb fleece of a baby ram.
I feel like you got along alright.
What's he up to?
Recording bands, man.
Just always be recording.
He makes guitars too.
Like, builds them?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, I know he was just winding pickups for a while.
What do you mean winding a pickup?
So, you know what the pickups are on the guitar?
Yeah, they pick up the little metal things with the dots that pick
Yeah.
up the vibration from the string.
So those metal things are like magnets, and you wind very, very thin wire around them like a gazillion times, and then the 2 ends of the wire that you just wound go to the output of the guitar, and that's the signal that goes to the amp. So like the strings move, right, when you play, the strings move back and forth, and that induces a magnetic field inside the magnets, which induces electrical current to flow in the guitar sound. Basically.
Wow. Guitars are complicated.
They're complicated and extremely like elegant.
Right. It cost $10. It was $5 a pound. It said it was 2 pounds. I weighed it when I got home and it was 3 pounds. I've already scoured the entire thing and I divided it into 3 parts. There's this light gray. This has the most pieces with the longest staple length. I have this dark gray. This has the most pieces of a slightly shorter staple. And then there's this mixture of both. This medium gray. I've already started carding on my drum carder, which I pulled out, I think yesterday. And I realized I was neglectful in my storage responsibilities. Never took the drive band off. So it had stretched out and one of the 2 drums was not turning as I spun the handle. So I went on the Fancy Kitty website. I picked up a $10 drive band replacement with $5 shipping. For $15, it was in my mailbox 1 day later. So cannot recommend their customer service enough. It was so fast. And I'm working on this in the middle of my doorway. But the new one fits perfect and I'm carding away. But anyway, this is the fleece I brought home. I have to say, I love scouring fleeces. And it's probably the thing I love most about buying raw wool is just washing it and the satisfaction of taking something that once was very dirty and making it very clean and soft and a future garment. So there's that. That's all I've been prepping, but I do have over here this is the progress I have made on one of my many knitting projects right now. I took this to Florida with us and I think I was right around here and I got done about 2 repeats of the color pattern. So I'm maybe a third of the way done. I have no idea actually. But yeah, this took quite a lot of time. It's one of the smaller projects that I'm working on right now, so easy to travel with. I'm also spending some time on the Artus shawl. Oh, I forgot to mention, in case you didn't know, this is the Vellichor by Andrea Mowry. I thought I would attempt to participate in a March to May knit along, and don't think that's gonna happen before the deadline, but it did get me motivated to cast on, and I'm excited for that. I just last night and this morning I worked on this second stripe of the Artus shawl. I actually knit this once in the wrong needle because this pattern has you work the waffle in a smaller needle than the color work. Most people knit color work a little tighter, and so I ripped it out and reknit this morning. So I would have probably had an extra inch, but whatever, I'll let that go for now. And I'm excited to work the final waffle section before we get to the mosaic, which is really quite exciting. I have all my yarns picked out for the mosaic sections. and I think I had talked about this pattern a long time ago, and I swapped out the darkest shade for this gray. I think that it gives a really nice subtle contrast. The dark gray looked too black and white, high contrast, very stark and dramatic, and I wanted it to be a little less so, and I think that this looks a lot more like the original color choices of the design. So I'm knitting this with yarns from my stash. This one is actually one of 5 that I've been holding on to for quite a long time. This is Green Mountain Spinnery's Lana yarn. It's a fingering weight 2-ply, very lovely yarn. Love this yarn. The others are just random skates. I've talked about them probably enough times before to know by now what I'm working with. But this is Jill Draper. Jill Draper makes some of the greatest yarns. I am obsessed with this color. That's that. I don't know what else I'm going to get into today, but I do have some spinning I need to accomplish. I have been meaning to ask, have you been watching or keeping up with the Karen Reed trial? I adore Emily Baker's live stream and commentary on most trials. This trial has been really interesting. If you are looking for more of a long form content, just something to keep on in the background of your life, highly recommend the Emily D. Baker channel on YouTube. She is live streaming the Karen Reid trial where she is accused of hitting her police officer boyfriend with her Lexus. I don't think she did do that. I think it's a cover-up. I think that the police department of Camden, Massachusetts are conspiring against her, and it is fascinating. There's a federal investigation right now, and that's interesting too. I just can't wait to hear more. So that's happening. Thought I'd mention it. Worth listening to. I can't tell you how cute I think it is to see that my cats play with their toys. Anyway, oh hi Sultry. I have had by my wheel this fiber. This fiber has been sitting here for several months, and it's time that I try to spin it up. I think I'm gonna spin a single today and a single tomorrow, and then I will ply it sometime this week, and I hope to have a matching skein to show you. I prepped that fiber the same time that I prepped fiber for another skein I've already spun. It's also a 2-ply, as all my hand spun yarn typically is, because I find anything else to be too tiresome. This is the skein of yarn I hope to replicate. I'm gonna guess it's about a sport weight yarn, maybe DK, light DK. I don't know, I've never knit a swatch. It holds a lot of air for being a hand combed worsted spun yarn. Very soft, very fluffy, very next to skin smooth. And I just have to spin another. So I'm gonna take this down next to my wheel and I'm gonna study it a little bit. I have a little bit of one of the singles still on the bobbin, so I can compare today's spinning to the spinning of yesteryear. And we'll see if I can create another one to match, so that this could be a future garment. I think with 2 skeins, I might be able to sneak out a t-shirt or some loose fitting short sleeve thing. That might be nice for the spring or to layer in the winter, so really excited for that. This is a Jacob fiber. I have more of the same fiber in both blackish brown and a mixture of the two. There's areas of that fleece that are both white and dark mixed, and I do need to blend them, and I'm going to blend them on my hand combs. I would love to knit something like in a color work shawl perhaps, but I don't know. I want more lightweight short sleeve garments in my wardrobe. That's sort of what I'm focused on knitting in 2024. I spent a little bit of time this week also on Ravelry, reestablishing my queue. So potentially in a future video, I will review what's in my queue for future projects. But right now I have so many on the needles. In fact, I put all of the projects I'm currently working on at the top of my queue in Ravelry, so I could kind of take a visual inventory for myself on what I'm already knitting, which is quite a few things. I have a couple projects that have been in hibernation, and yeah, I'm not in a planning mode yet, but when it comes to spinning, you kind of have to think about what will this be one day. And right now I just really want to make another skein that will match this one. So that's the goal for the week. That's that. Welcome to this week's garden tour. It has been raining like every single day for about a week, but my rose bush is in full bloom. It has a crazy amount of rosebuds on it, still yet to open. And one thing I forgot about rose bushes is that they do drop petals constantly. So I don't know if I really actually love having a rose bush on this arch. We'll see. I'll prune it back at the end of the year and we'll see how it goes next year, but I have not loved the amount of petals all over the place. My peach tree is doing fabulously. I tried to pick off as much leaf curl as I could find early on, so it hasn't totally consumed the tree. It's growing mini peaches, so that's a bit exciting. I love to eat peaches. Maybe we will can some peaches this year. I don't know if we'll actually have that many by the time they're fully ripened, but the squirrels do love these peaches. They tend to steal most of them, so we'll see what we get in the end. I never ate any of this chard that I tried to grow. These seed pods are rather tasty, but they're a bit old now. I'm just letting this plant hang on for seed, but it looks like it's been taken over by mealybugs or aphids. Wow, gross. Anyway, I have not spent much time out here, and as you can tell, I embarrassingly did a terrible job power washing. We have a cherry tree that extends over the yard, which I love, and this time of year it drops a lot of debris. You can see it's collected in the corners of my hellebores, and it had just made a mess of this concrete, and I just washed this concrete. I bought a pressure washer. I spent a ton of time pressure washing it, getting it super clean, and then time went on and it just got even dirtier than ever before, and I don't know where it went off to, but we no longer have a hose sprayer. I know I had to have taken it off to hook it up to the pressure washer, and then it went missing. I don't know where it is. So I haven't had, ever since I did my first pressure washing, I haven't had a sprayer to spray off the concrete regularly enough, and it's worse than it ever was. So I used the pressure washer just to get the debris off the concrete, but then I didn't have a suitable method for getting the debris off of my plants. So anyway, this shade garden is doing spectacularly. I never thought I would ever get anything to grow in this amount of shade until I found the right plants for it. So you can see I have bleeding hearts. Most of those flowers have dropped off now. Hellebores, which are doing phenomenally. I have some hostas, heuchera. This is a patch of lemon balm here, which I allow to sort of take over that back side of the fence because it's great for my dog when she has nausea or indigestion. She loves to eat lemon balm, so I love to have it in the garden. This is Solomon seal. It is flowering for the first time since we planted it, and I love that for us. I just cut back I don't even remember what that weed is called, but it's an intentional weed. My blueberries are fruiting, not yet ripened, one day soon. And I planted out my cucumbers, which these are doing fine. I think some slugs took away my cucumbers here, so I don't know what I'm going to do for cucumbers. I might just plant beans up this side and not attempt to do cucumbers. I don't recall even growing a vast number of cucumbers on the shadier side of my trellis. But we are doing a bit of a food forest thing here, so with that pawpaw tree right in front of this trellis, this no longer gets a huge amount of sun. It never really did, but the middle of the yard is where I think we maybe get the most sun. Depends on the time of day, but It is very overcast today. And I think I've told this to you all already, but I transferred my blackberry shrub and I propagated it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blackberries. I think that this is also a blackberry. I mean, the leaves look like blackberries, but the stalk stem thing looks different. I don't know. I dug that up later when I found it growing in that corner. I figured it had to have been a blackberry. So, but they've taken, every one of them has pretty much taken, some a little bit better than others, but one day this trellis will be fully covered in blackberries, which I think will be very cool. And of course we have our second pawpaw here, which you probably know by now, and then the third pawpaw is over there amongst the many black raspberries. They're all fruiting. They fruit all at the same time. So we're gonna have a bunch of black raspberries to pick in a couple weeks time, maybe another month. And then this area is my kind of new experiment of a garden. My neighbors shared with me these hostas here, and this is the first year that they're actually somewhat established. So just letting hostas kind of take over this space. I hope to propagate them next year or in the fall and plant some of them into my neighbor's yard. And I might get some shrubs here to grow more permanently, but in the meantime, because I like to buy shrubs on sale in the fall when they're like 30% of the typical cost, I'm just trying to grow my cherry tomatoes in this area where we do get some amount of sunlight. Everywhere is shade in our garden, but cherry tomatoes, they don't require a huge amount of sunlight compared to other types of tomatoes. I have more hostas and a heuchera hidden amongst these black raspberries, which I will move one day. These ones, I love where they are though, because they poke out from under these shrubs gorgeously. And then this area is a little bit under construction. I'm going to step back to show you better. But the daffodils are still a bit of a wreck. The heucheras have poked out amongst them, and the yarrow is just spreading everywhere, which is kind of exciting. I do love a yarrow patch, and I picked up this shrub here. Is it a shrub? I don't know what you'd call that. I actually don't even remember the name of it. Couldn't tell you what it is. Brian might still know, but I bought that plant at Maryland Sheep and Wool and planted it there because, I don't know, I thought I could make this a little bit more cottagey feeling, put some like different things here and there. At every moment I'm like, I want things to be more formal, and then in the next I want things to be more cottage. I don't really know what I'm doing. One thing I do know, I love foxgloves, and I will show you a little moment in the front yard, but I have just a couple of random ones poking out here and there, and I wish I planted more foxgloves in my backyard garden, especially in this area where I could pop them in against the fence line where they can sort of elevate the space. This plant, I don't even know what this is, to be honest. I feel like it has to be a flowering perennial, but it looks like aphids are taking it over. I don't know, maybe I will transplant that next year because I don't think it's doing great. Scab is getting lost in the garden. I'm a little worried that I won't find her before I go back in, but the raspberries are doing fine. There's quite a bit of new growth, and I need to tie the new growth up as well as I did the old growth. So one day I need to just put a couple new lines out on those poles to keep everything contained before everything starts to fall over. But I love raspberries, and the bounty of the fruit is worth the hassle and the ugliness of those shrubs. They're not quite as pretty. Somehow I feel like the wildness of the black raspberries, I don't know, they're just easier. These ones I stake up, and these ones I don't. But it looks like I might have even more blackberries popping up over here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like I have more blackberries to dig up and transplant. So I'll do that tomorrow, maybe. It's still raining, and I don't really feel like getting dirty and taking a shower, so I'm gonna leave that work for later. But you can see that the raspberries are starting to fruit. They're nowhere near ripe. And this bed is just a little bit of chaos. I have a random sunflower I'll probably pull up, but my peppers are getting destroyed by something or another. And I have echinacea, and I don't know why I always gravitate towards the red and the peachish flowering things, but I think that the purples actually look prettier. I don't know, something about green and purple and the like bluish foliage. I think because I don't really know what foliage is going to look more blue. I don't know. I feel like I don't have a cohesive color palette in my garden. Like if you ever watch Garden Answers, she always avoids reds. And she does have some salmon-y things, but she gears herself in her garden more towards purples and pinks. And I feel like it is a more cohesive aesthetic. So I don't really have a good aesthetic style yet established in my garden. I'm kind of just figuring out what plants work and which ones don't, and then I'm going to figure out the color theory of it all in future seasons. I did cut back my rose bush. This is all the new growth that had established before I cut back the shrub. It had really grown crazy and flopped over all over the place. And I left some stalks thinking maybe it'll bounce back. I don't know, we'll see. But it's all cut back now. And then these have really taken off. I think I might need to pop out this rosemary if it has any chance of survival. But also I broke this box. I attempted to shift it during the winter, not realizing it was frozen to the ground. And now the soil is just falling out of it. And that kind of bugs me because it matches this one perfectly. And I just feel like they're like the right size and shape for this space. You know, they give a little bit of variety, but they fit in nice and easy. So I'm a little bothered by that, but I can always just get a different box. I also want to replace that one there that we built. We built this one custom because it sits over top of a drain pipe here. This is our gutter system, so there's a gutter pipe behind that. And this box, we just weren't really good at building things when we put this together, so we're gonna redo that one day. Probably not this year, maybe next year, 2025. But it's possible that when we rebuild this box, we'll make a matching one for over here, or who knows, but I don't know. I don't know what we'll do, but yeah. I also have some flowers, these little daisies. I think I'm gonna plant these in my neighbor's yard because I think that they'd probably do better. I think he gets a little bit more sun over there. Strawberries have tons of fruit on them. I don't know if they'll ever really ripen. They look like they're rotting sooner than they're ripening, so I don't know. Scab, where'd you go? There you are. You're so hard to see amongst all the leaves. You're such a good girl. for joining me on my little garden tour. There's a squirrel up in that tree. We have families of squirrels that live in all of these trees. They travel along the power lines. A lot of people don't know that squirrels are probably the #1 reason why you don't have rats in your area, because they compete for all of the same resources. So, it's one reason to love your squirrel population. Anyway, that's this week's garden tour. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and you take care. If you made it this far in this week's video, let me know in a comment below with the yarn emoji, or a ram, because that is the fleece I brought home from Maryland. But if you want to find me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me on TikTok as Taylor Knits. Again, I want to thank you so much for being here. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed watching. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing to my channel. And I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care.